Hello folks, we are now a week and a half away from Wuchang's launch, and just like my previous videos, we will not be rehashing the same content found pretty much everywhere else. Instead, today we have this post made on the official Wuchang Facebook page, and spoiler alert, it's not the official page, but regardless, the post does show this screenshot from within the first chapter of Wuchang, and it shows that the entirety of chapter 1 can be seen from this location right here. Now, we covered this Facebook page in a previous video, but to bring you up to speed, the main admin claims to have been hands-on with Wuchang already, and for all intents and purposes, this does seem to be the case. In the previous video, we covered some deeper assessments of Wuchang, but for today, we are of course looking at an entirely different post altogether, and that would be this one right here. So then, to start us off, this may not be Elden Ring levels of scope, but it's always a breathtaking sight to stand atop a vantage point and look down upon a beautifully crafted region, knowing full well you can travel to each and every location within. Now, this does only cover the first region within Wuchang, which can be more accurately referred to as Chapter 1, and in the top left corner, we can see where Region 2, or rather Chapter 2, does begin. Within Chapter 1, we so far have a total of 9 bosses, and apparently one of these are secret. The chapter is said to be 3 hours of story, but 10 hours for all content, meaning roughly 1 boss per hour of exploration, and I do believe this game has 6 chapters, with the 4th said to be slightly smaller than the rest, so we could be seeing quite a roster of bosses, maybe even upwards from the likes of 40 or 50. That is a little bit of logic and a little bit of speculation combined, so make of those numbers what you will. Aside from the number of bosses, the biggest draw here would be the actual level design and how this level interconnects within itself to create those moments where you constantly find yourself getting lost, but eventually finding your way back to familiar territory. The best comparison I can think of for this would of course be Dark Souls 1, and I think many of us feel the same way as myself when it comes to FromSoft's level design. They did practically pioneer it with Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 1, and despite attempting to one-up themselves in almost every installation since, a lot of fans would argue that Dark Souls 1 just happened to do it best, myself included. Now, I say this because this post here is accompanied by the following caption. Standing at this position in the picture, you can see the entire map of Chapter 1. The creator said that the map design was based on Dark Souls 1. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 are both connected. Very excellent map structure design, and my experience has been better than Lies of P or Kazan. Now, to touch on the final remarks of that statement, as much as I love both Lies of P and Kazan, I wouldn't put Kazan into the conversation of strong level design. I don't think it's bad, and I do quite like it. However, it's nothing to write home about, and it mostly just gets the job done. Lies of P would be in the same boat. It interconnects back on itself multiple times, but it never deviates from the main story, and you never really find yourself getting lost. So, 2 weak comparisons in terms of strong level design. If we're saying that Wuchang is based upon Dark Souls 1, then it really should be getting compared to the Dark Souls trilogy, or maybe even the likes of Sekiro. It doesn't really matter all that much, and the main takeaway would be that Wuchang's level design has been inspired by what the vast majority of FromSoft fans would consider the best game to ever do level design thus far. To look at the actual locations within the image itself, there are a total of 15 locations within the region to visit. 8 of these locations contain bosses, with one of those locations being a secret boss, and another containing 2 bosses in total. This would mean that roughly half of the locations have bosses, and the other half don't, and whilst this doesn't indicate much for the rest of the game, we can at least hope that this level of scope will persist for its entirety. Ultimately, to compare Wuchang's level design to Dark Souls 1 is not small praise, and if this turns out to even just be a half-true statement, then we can likely expect better level design than what we've had from most games over the past few years. Now, in terms of variety and the issue of lots of areas and regions feeling the same, we only really have a small amount of footage to go off, and whilst things do certainly appear diverse and varied enough, I'm afraid we will not have a concrete answer for this until at least a day or so from launch. As I've said a few times before, Wuchang is roughly a 60-hour long game when including all content. The campaign is broken into what I think is 6 chapters, all roughly being around the same length. However, Chapter 4 is apparently slightly shorter than any of the others, so it's on average roughly 10 or so hours per region, and we can at the very least expect 6 distinct regions that then vary in their actual design, depending on which area of that region you're currently adventuring through. Anyway, in a nutshell, I'm very glad to hear the level design is inspired by what's largely regarded as the best game in the genre to have done level design thus far, and if Lindsay have managed to stick the landing with the level design, then it alone could have wonders for Wuchang's overall success and popularity, but as always, we will just have to wait and see. That would be it for today's video, folks. I do of course have a range of guides and news videos on the channel, so do feel free to stop on by and check things out. Otherwise, thanks for watching, folks. And until next time, peace.